Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of One Piece. The last set of chapters. Questioning why it is that Zolo didn't use his swords to break himself free, and instead do attempt the JoJo pose while he and Nami and Phoebe, the princess, is being turned into wax. While Miss Golden Week stepped into the fight after Luffy successfully knocked Mister Five out of the ballpark, and Usopp taking on Mister Three once again. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Five. Mr. Three was the one who got knocked out of the park. Mr. Five is the one who's fighting Usopp. I got my corrections there. Got my corrections. Please don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Oh my gosh, he's terrible. He can't even keep the name straight. Yeah, unfortunately, I keep getting the women mixed up for some reason. I keep getting Miss All Sunday mixed with Miss Valentine. I don't know. Because I gotta remember, she's paired up with Mr. Five. Miss All Sunday was just temporarily there. I think. I don't know. Anyway. Let's not waste any time and let's get reading. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, chapter 126, Instinct. The flames on candelabra looked up into the sky, smoke wafting up into the air, matching with the clouds. Mr. Five and Miss Golden Week stared out at the flames, with Mr. Three in the distance and Usopp and Kado running with all their might. Within the flames, there stood the waxed figures of Nami and Zolo and Princess, to the sound of the fire mocking their enemies. Ooh, it said. Meanwhile, Mr. Three was freaking out as his wax was affected by the flames. I'm a banana, blast your straw hat. As Candelabra screamed out, blip. Luffy looked up. Dude, that's a lot of heat. Will they be okay? You dare to ruin my special candelabra, Mr. Three says. He ran off away from the flames in pain, and Luffy looked in his direction. Oh, dude. No, you don't. And Luffy gave chase into the jungle with Miss Golden Week following Mr. Three. Meanwhile, melted wax rained down as Kato screamed out, "Quack, quack," and Mr. Five freaked out. "They're underestimating us!" he screamed as Miss Valentine lifted herself up in frustration as the flames mocked her. "Ooh, getting us trouble, eh?" she said. "No more fun and games!" And she continued to use her gum pressure on Usopp's balls. "Ugh," he said. "I'll crush your head to a pulp." "No, not that head. I need to make children." 1,000 kilo guillotine, she screamed as she flew high up into the air with the help of her umbrella and stretched her leg out, aiming straight for his nether regions. The flames continued to consume Nami and Zolo and the princess as Miss Valentine looked down. "Huh?" And suddenly she got hit. She got hit with something. It was from the princess and it was from Nami, and they sent her right back onto the earth to the sound of the whack. "Wah!" she screamed out. "Ah, what terrible hit! Wasn't there any other way?" Nami said as Usopp lifted himself up. "Don't complain. You're lucky to be alive." As blood dripped down his face, and there was Nami and Nami and the princess with their clothes burnt off for the most part, and Nami now in a hot bikini skirt with a smile on her face, holding her power pole, while the princess twirled her Madonna Madonna rings from from her nipples that she yanked out of her nipples. You're alive, thanks, Nami said. Cough, cough, I can't believe it. We're alive. The princess continued twirling her weapons to the sound of whoop whoop. Mr. 5 aimed his pistol right at them. The rat smelled it. What pan? Oh, can't afford to fail our mission. Failing our mission again. Mr. 5! Usopp screamed out as the ladies watched in shock, flat-footed. Death blow! Usopp stretched out his the rubber band of his slingshot. Exploding star! He screamed out as he fired at it, and once again, Mr. 5 ate the exploding star. Fool! I've shown you over and over that explosives don't work on me. I'm a human bomb. He swallowed it. Usopp smiled as Mr. 5 suddenly realized what happened. Sorry, but I'm a fibber. That wasn't a bomb. It was my deluxe pepper sauce star. Usopp smiled as sweat poured down the face of Mr. 5, and he immediately opened his mouth as smoky gas billowed out of his face. Gah! Wada! He screamed out. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Usopp laughed. I personally checked its effectiveness. You are truly a Pokemon. You're weak. And it's super effective. You like the pirates? Ack, ack, ack. Mr. 5 dropped to his knees and coughing in absolute pain as his mouth was filled with pepper. Gah! I'll blow you them bits from my full body blast, he screamed out. And he jumped from a very, very far distance onto Usopp's face, like Chaozu on a Saiyan. Grah! Usopp! The princess screamed out. When I'm finished with you, there won't be any bones left. There won't even be any bones left. You understand? Flaming? He completely consumed himself in fire to the sound of ooh. On it. Oh, I'm sorry. That isn't, that's not done for, oh, wow. Okay, sorry. I just realized whose attack that was. So as Usopp was ready to get, was about to be chowsued by Mr. 5, Zolo bent down on his knees with two swords in hand and his third sword in his mouth. The flames cheered on. Ooh. Flaming Onigiri. And he flashed right through Mr. 5, setting him afire as his swords were in flames, and Mr. 5's blood gushed out of his throat and splurted out of his chest as flames consumed him, and as Solo took on a JoJo pose and while on fire. The flames licked away, disappeared, leaving him in a smolder as he slowly sheathed his sword. A burning sword, not bad, most epic, worthy of JoJo's. And Mr. 5 collapsed on the ground in flames. Solo! Usopp screamed out as Solo finally sheathed his sword, and a giant hand slapped the ground, bloodied from the wax swords that pierced it. Everyone turned around and smiled. Heh, it's good to be alive, huh? Hey, aye! Broggy said, and he looked over at Jory. Master, Usopp spoke as he sat down with Broggy as they kept their eyes on Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine, make sure they stay laid out while smoldering from the from the flames. Only two left to fight, Broggy said. So, in the jungle, Luffy and Karo gave chase to Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week. Bird dude, quack. Don't let him get away. Quack, he said as they hopped over the leaves and the roots, dodging the trees and avoiding tripping over. Anybody who'd spoil a battle of honor, the Luffy said, is no man, dude. And that's when he heard a loud laugh. Ha 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 ha. And Luffy and Karo stopped in horror. I'm glad you've come, Mr. Three said. Welcome to my wax mansion. Worthy of Vincent Price and his waxwork. What the dude? Might be entered the dragon tier? Yes. Imagine me being a whole bunch of mirrors. Although I would prefer Naruto, but yes. Bad reference on your part. Dude. Now, which is the real me? Can you tell? My shadow no jutsu is gonna do you in. Ha 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 ha. And Luffy and Karo looked around, trying to figure out which one was which. You've picked the bad enemy, Mr. Three said. We're the best brains of Baroque works, and you're just a powerful oaf who acts only on instinct. You'll never take us on. I am Mr. Three. I never fail in my mission. Heh. Ha 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 ha. Come a step inside. But the moment you turn your back on me, you'll get the dagger in the heart. And he revealed the sharpest possible knife with a nice sheen. With a nice sheen. And continued laughing. Ha 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 ha. Luffy leaned forward, lifted his right leg high into the air, and said, Gum gum. Stamp! He stretched his foot out. His chancla struck the face of Mr. Three. What? He said as his blood splurted out from the impact. And when Luffy released his chancla from Mr. Three's face, it printed the soul onto every crevasse from the chin to the forehead. Oh, he said as the tree that he slammed his head in snapped in half and collapsed over. How did you know where I was? And he completely collapsed as blood splurted out of his mouth. Instinct, dude. To the sound of two. And Karo went quack as he noticed Miss Golden Week was hiding behind a rock. Quack! He screamed out. Ah! She screamed out. Meanwhile, deep inside the forest, inside the wax block that makes up of a building, Sanji is helping himself to some tea while relaxing and chilling. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't be sitting here sipping tea. The girls might be waiting for me to sing them. What's a nice place like this doing in the middle of the jungle anyway? And suddenly there was a ring. There was a ring going on as he was about to step out the door. And he looked back, took a long, deep puff of his cigarette, and said, What's that? And the ring was coming from inside a box. It was with a handle on it. He opened it up, and it turned out to be a snail. Oh, I see. I see. Gotcha. Wing wingle, wing wingle. Hey, telephone snail. And he lifted up the receiver. Hello, this is Restaurant Le Crab. Would you like to make a reservation? Oh, we got a new voice here. Ooh, okay. I don't know who it is, but he's got the face for it. Let's see. Ugh, stop fooling around, you idiot. You're late with your report. Report? Who is this? Ugh, it's me, Mr. Zero. Mr. Zero. He'll get the Scotsman voice. Ugh. I don't know. It feels a little bit more Game of Thronesy, like Sean Bean, or something like that. I don't know. But to be continued. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. Chapter 127. Snailophone. Over at the combat area, where Mr. Five and Miss Valentine lay down unconscious, Mr. Broggy stood over, started crying, with waterfalls of tears shooting out and raining on everybody, and a rainbow formed from it. Wah! He screamed out, "Wah!" As the water, as his tears splashed down to the sound of "Ooh!" Wah! He continued screaming as everybody held on to covered their ears because it was so loud and rambling, and echoing, bellowing into the sky. Even his tears are gigantic, Nami said. They're like a waterfall. Look, dudes, a rainbow. Quack. My ears. I know how Broggy feels. Usopp cried. Broggy continued, and suddenly he got slapped upside the head to the sound of doom. And as Broggy stumbled over, left everybody standing in a lake of tears. Grr! I must have passed out. Dory said. Dory, but how? Oh, it's Dory, the princess said. Mr. Giant Dude. Luffy clutched his fist as Zolo sat chilled on the stump of the tree. It must have been the weapons. Oh, the weapons? Oh, I get it, Usopp said as he wiped his tears as he watched Dory huff and puff and blood drip down from his face. Even weapons forged in Elbaf get worn out in a battle between giants that lasts 100 years. This is incredible, Usopp smiled. Oh, ho, ho, ho. It's a miracle. And suddenly Broggy hugged Dory very tightly. Broggy, don't hug me so hard, my wound. I'm just so happy you're alive over it. Ho, 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 ho. Hey, 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 hey. Dory laughed along. What miracle? It's no surprise, Zolo said, as he rested his sword on his shoulder. These weapons haven't been cared for over the last century, and neither have their owners. This is glorious, Broggy screamed out. I give thanks to the gods of Elbaf. Are you that proud of yourself just for knocking me out? Dory said. Idiot, that's not what I meant. He tapped Dory's shoulder, wounded shoulder. Ouch. You hit my wound, you fool. And suddenly they got up onto their feet. They got up to their feet with fists bulging veins and staring each other down. You're looking for a fight? Sure, I'll knock you out this time. Oh, you're out of the gun, you fools! Nami screamed out at the giants. Meanwhile, back in the forest, inside the wax cube where Sanji was all chill, he was on the snailophone listening in to Mr. Zero. Mr. Zero! Is it Mr. Zero, the leader of Vivi's enemies? He thought to himself as he took a long puff of his cigarette. And he stared out at the snailophone as it looked back at him. Then the other god on the other end of the snailophone is one of the 7 warlords of the sea. He continued thinking to himself. Ah, you've been gone a long time. Have you accomplished your mission, Mr. 3? Mr. 3? So this is his snailophone? Sanji thought as he tried to figure out what he wants to say next or what move he wants to make. Now I get it. He looked away. This is the enemy's camp. The guy who wants to kill Vivi. Mr. 3's on this island. He chilled. He he relaxed as Mr. 3 waited for a response. What a spot! We're still being hunted. I hope the others are okay. Crap! Why do you hesitate? I asked you the question. The snail's lips moved, emulating the voice of Mr. Zero. Have you eliminated the Princess Phoebe and the Straw Hats? He took another puff of his smoke. And then he took the receiver and answered, Oh yeah! Mission accomplished! Everyone who knew your secret has been eliminated so you can call off the hunt! I see. Good work. The unluckies are on their way now to confirm that the job is done and deliver something. Unluckies? Deliver something? The eternal pause to Alabasta. I want you to head for Alabasta with Miss Golden Week, he said as he was messing around, stirring his drink with a flower as a gigantic size crocodile or alligator or crocodigator. Banana gator, because it's got a banana on its head. The banana gator just relaxed and listened on. The time has come to begin the most crucial part of our plan. Go to Alabasta and wait for the orders. And there, and forgot their name. Mr. 9 and Miss Friday. No, Miss 13 and Mr. 13 and oh well. They're there. Wow, how did I forget their names all of a sudden? It's not Mr. 9. That's Mr. 13 and Miss Friday. Mr. 13 and Miss Friday are listening on, staring down at Sanji as they watch him answering back as he was receiving orders from Mr. Zero. Who are these guys? And the wax building screamed out, "Woo!" Mr. 13 and Miss Friday armed up and were prepared to attack as Mr. Zero asked, what's the matter? Nothing. And the attack began. A couple of bullets fired from Miss Friday. He jumped out of the way. What the heck is that? Whoa! Mr. 13 lunged at him with his seashell knives and practically shanked out Sanji's nuts. You want to kill me? He winded up his left leg. Just try it, you boy monkey! And he slapped the Mr. 13 on the head with his kick and knocked him into the wax wall, leaving a big bump on the giant on the costumed sea otter. Miss Friday became angry and screamed out, "Kachak!" And Sanji looked in her direction. As she came in with the volley of bullets, he spun around, lifting his kick up into the air. Just a darn minute, he said, and delivered and connected his foot right into Miss Friday's face. You overgrown chicken! And as Miss Friday lay down on the ground, Mr. Zero asked once again through the snailophone, what's going on? Nothing. Really? Turns out the Straw Hats were still alive, but it's okay, I finished them, really. And Mr. Zero stopped stirring. And suddenly, the entire drink vanished from the cup. Still alive, you say? Didn't you just tell me? And the flower died in his fingertips. The mission was accomplished. Yes, I thought it was, but they weren't as dead as I thought. In other words, you gave me a false report. Well, make it sound bad, but I finished them for good this time, so there's no need to send anyone else after them, okay? Anyway, you're going straight to Alabasta, Mr. Zero said, and he immediately leaned his head onto the palm of his hand. And this will be our last electronic communication. We can't have the Navy catching on to us. You have to receive your orders directly as in the past. That is all. I wish you success, Mr. 3. And he turned off the he hung up on the snail phone. He hung up on the snail phone. Oh, there we go. Miss All Sunday. There we are. Miss All Sunday. Mm. Mm. Yes, she replied. Dispatch Mr. Two to the little garden. He said as Miss All Sunday pet the banana gator and it licked its tongue out at her. He hung up. Not good, Sanji said. Somewhere between Little Garden and Alabasta, have Mr. Three dispose of. He said. You're so ruthless. Miss All Sunday said. It's a crocodile. Minions are minions are replaceable. Are you talking back to me? No. I'll do as you say. No problem. She started walking away as she slid her hand along the banana gator to the sound of click clack. And he was taunted by and Mr. Zero was taunted by the sound of ooh. Back at the jungle, Sanji inside the wax cube stared down Miss Friday and Mr. 13. Just who are these guys? And he noticed a compass. Oh, that's the. He noticed the log pose. With the words alabaster etched on it. This is as he reached out to pick it up. Meanwhile, on the Grand Line. The serpent floated past by passed by a naval ship. One of the subordinates screamed out, Captain Smoker, we just intercepted a very interesting transmission. What? What? Mr. Smoker said. To be continued. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. The Marines were sailing out in the open along the Grand Line with a giant sail saying Smoker Marines. The birds are floating through the sky. They have absolute control over the waves, despite its attempt at randomness. Smoker smoked out. Play it again. Aye, Captain. Bashigi, come here and listen to this. Ah, what beautiful workmanship, she said as she stared at the sword. The fine great sword Kasha. Only on the Grand Line can you find a great sword so easily. She smiled as she lifted up her glasses to study closer at the work of the weapon. Bashigi, are you done? You crazy fool, sword crazy fool. She slammed the door open, screamed out, Aye, huh? What is it? Captain Smoker? Coffee? One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, Chapter 128, Pirate Pride. On the ship, they looked at they were staring at the snailophone wrist communicator, the black transponder snail listening device, as it's called. And Smoker addressed Tashigi. Listen closely to the two men talking. Yeah, we intercepted his message earlier, Sergeant Tashigi. Ready. She leaned in and listened on. Dojo, Princess Visit, and Straw Hats. Ah. Ugh, did you, Princess Phoebe and Straw Hats? Yes, mission accomplished. The communicator said. The interceptor said. Straw Hats? Yes, the transmission is garbled, but we can make out 4 keywords from this conversation. Princess Phoebe, Straw Hats, Mr. Zero, orders directly. He took a long puff of his 2 cigars.
Is this Mr. Zero? Connected to Mr. 11, that dubious swordsman we captured in Lunas recently?
Albeit, his 11 is his code name. He could be getting direct orders from some criminal organization. Ooh, Mr. 11. Did I do Mr. 11? No, we have not even come across Mr. 11. He looks like a clown. Could I give him the snobbish voice anyway? Yeah, I'll give him a snobbish voice. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of people who can have snobbish voices and other types of voices. Mr. Zero, a criminal organization? That's absurd. You're way off the mark, Mr. 11 said, dressed with a top hat and black lines, black makeup along under his eyes, and a very fancy suit tied up to the mast as smokers stared down at him. And explain the orders we found in your pocket. What? I was sure I burned them, Mr. 11 said as sweat built up around his face and dripped off his chin. I was, Got you. There was nothing in your pocket, he said as he took another long puff of his 2 cigars. And Mr. 11 freaked out. Ah! Princess Vivi. She's the missing princess of Alabaster. Alabaster is a kingdom in the grip of a rebellion, he said as he leaned back on his lounge chair with a cup of coffee on the side on the counter, and Tashigi replied,
Do you think the criminal organization, the Straw Hat Pirates, are somehow involved?
I don't know, but this is our first clue to the Straw Hats' whereabouts.
Then are we?
Aye. Contact headquarters and get an eternal pose. Yes, sir, the subordinate said. Set course for the desert kingdom of Alabaster. And the marine ship was on its way as a giant fish with a blowhole swam along, and the birds in the sky. Back at the little garden, island of giants.
Ha ha
ha! Dory screamed out.
You little people saved our lives. We want to pay you.
I am deeply offended that you refer to us as little people.
Well, too bad. You're little people, because we're giants.
Oh, that's true.
Ha ha ha! Ha ha!
Dory laughed at that exchange.
We completely forgot this was a price on our heads. They,
the princess said,
only came to this island because of me.
And Nami immediately pulled onto her cheeks.
Ouch! Ah, don't say that.
Dude, she's right. Don't worry about it. Want a rice cracker? Luffy took a bite into it with Usopp and Karu, all relaxed and chilling.
Ah, where did you get those?
Nami said.
Well, no one is mad at you.
She said. Okay, she said. Oh, right, dudes, let's have a rice cracker party. And everyone laughed away. Hey, Nami, dance for us.
Ah, no way.
And Vivi smiled with a light blush. Hey, gee, Usopp, your eye's about to pop out. Oh, I see. Okay, I see the order. Okay. Alright, let's have a rice cracker party. Hey, Dobby, dance for us. And suddenly got slapped by Nami as Vivi watched on with a smile on her face and a blush to the cheek. Ha ha ha, Usopp, dude, your eye's about to pop out. Ah, idiot. Again, do it again, Nami, dude. Meanwhile, Solo addressed everybody. It takes a year for the log post to reset here. That's no good.
I'll say we're in real trouble.
Dude, is there anything you can do, Giants?
Are you kidding?
Dory replied to Luffy.
Even we can't control log pros.
And everybody was trying to figure out what to do next. However, merging out of the jungle was Sanji with a big smile on his face. Oh, Nami, Vivi. Hearts bulged out of his eyes. And you guys, you're all safe, thank goodness. And he runs towards the women with arms out in embrace. Hey, Sanji dude. He wasn't around when we needed him, but he has the nerve to show up now. Usopp stomped his feet and huffed and puffed. But suddenly, Sanji stopped and his eyes bulged out of his sockets. What the? Are you Mr. 3? He raised his fist up ready to fight.
How did you know about Mr. 3?
Nami said. And and Sanji's eye popped out in the shape of hearts as he noticed Nami was in a bikini skirt. Whoa, Nami, you're beautiful. Moments later, Sanji relays the news.
You mean?
The princess said.
A little while ago, you spoke with Mr. Zero?
That's right. He thought I was Mr. 3, but I was kind of dumb and had a good advantage, but I screwed up a bit.
And you told him we were all dead?
Yeah, that's what I told him.
And you ended up telling him that we were still alive?
Dead, yeah.
You're not very good.
No. But I beat up the minions. Baroque works. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Usopp immediately clenched his fist and looked up into the air, growling. Baroque Works is off our trail, but we're still stuck on this island. We're stuck. What's to keep us here? Now that we have this, he presented the eternal log, and everyone's mouths dropped, and multiple flies entered into their mouths and down their throats. Huh? What? Sanji asked. Dude, it's the eternal pose, Alabaster.
You found it.
Now we can go. They start celebrating as Vivi hugged Sanji.
Thank you, Sanji. I almost lost hope.
And Sanji's eyes turned to hearts and puffed out a smoke in the shape of heart. Oh, it was nothing. I didn't know you'd be so happy. Alright, dudes, it's rice cracker party time. Hey, Usopp said, this won't work. We only have 3 rice crackers. Usopp said as Luffy started spreading out the 3 crackers. The party can wait. Nami said, let's go, Captain. There's no time to waste. Oh, by the way, Usopp said, pointing at Solo, you haven't forgotten about our hunting challenge, have you? Oh, that? Solo stretched his arms out wide. I won. I bagged a huge rhino. A rhino? I hope it's edible.
Hunting challenge?
Dorian Broggy said, hey. Luffy smiled as he put his hat back on. You roly-poly giants, we have to go.
Oh, you seem to be in a hurry.
Broggy said.
It's sad to see you go.
Dory said.
But I won't stop you. I hope you're able to save your kingdom. Thank you.
Vivi said. Don't kill each other, giants. Be righteous. Everybody started walking into the jungle as all best wishes were delivered. And meanwhile, Sanji and Solo were bragging about their challenge. Just wait, mine's definitely bigger. We'll see. Whack, Karo said as Usopp screamed out, goodbye, masters. One day I shall go to Hellpath. And as everyone disappeared into the jungle, Dory and Broggy sat quietly, as silence had been ensured. And with a big smile on his face, Broggy spoke.
Our friends are able to set sail on the Eastern Sea.
Dory replied.
We can't let them go by themselves with that monster out there. How's your wound, Dory? I'll live.
And they each branded their weapon and axe in hand.
My axe and your sword have had good lives. Have you any regrets? Of course. This axe has been my partner in battle for over 100 years, but if it's to help those people, it's well worth it, and it's settled.
And Dory and Broggy headed off to help out Luffy and the crew. Meanwhile, back at the merry-go, Sanji and Zolo are in each other's faces with furious anger and bulging veins. Take a good look, my lizard wins. Are you blind? My rhino's bigger. To which Luffy relaxed on the side of the banister on the deck. Who cares, dudes? They both look good to eat. And they both screamed out, "You shut up! You shut up!" And Nami, fully dressed once again, looked from the top of the galley.
How long are you two gonna bake? Just cut them up and load as much as you can. It's time to sail.
All right, Nami. Sanji said with hearts for eyes. Right, Usopp. Mine's bigger, right? He said to the marksman.
I don't care.
What? Can you
call it a draw?
The princess asked. There are no draws in a challenge. It must be absolute victory. These two. As the merry-go sailed through the river inside the jungle, Nami marked their direction.
If we sail straight ahead, that'll take us to the east of the island.
Hey, can't we carry any more meat?
That's all the ship will hold. Do you want it to sink us?
Hey, look, it's the giants. Luffy pointed out with a big smile on his face.
They came to see us off.
Usopp was elated as the two stood like towering statues from the Isle of Rhodes, with cloaks on, staring out into the ocean.
There's one big reason that you little people can't reach the next island.
Dory and Broggy said.
What?
As the winds started flapping violently onto Luffy's flag.
You risked your lives to defend our honor,
Dory said.
Now, no matter what,
Broggy crossed his arms.
We will allow no enemy to trample on our friend's pride. Have faith in us and sail straight ahead. No matter what happens, sail straight ahead.
Okay, dudes. What are they talking about? Zolo asked. We'll sail straight ahead.
Oh, it's time to say goodbye.
And with their weapons raised, Dory and Broggy wished them farewell.
I hope we meet again. Yes, I hope so too.
And Nami pointed out what they were talking about.
Ah, look, up ahead.
And something was emerging from the sea. It was a pair of eyes and a very large fin. And it made the merry-go look like an ant.
There it is,
Dory said.
The Island Eater. I will give it away. You will give it away. The honor of Bellpath is at stake,
Dory said, as they raised their weapons up into the air. To be continued. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, chapter 129. 192. I was about to say 192. Chapter 129. Straight ahead. Dory thought.
We will allow no enemy to trample on our friend's pride.
And Broggy thought.
Have faith in us and sail straight ahead.
And straight ahead they did, as the merry-go was staring right at the maw of the giant fish that made them look like ants.
Ah! Something big came out of the sea. Ah, it's a sea monster.
And sea monster it was. A giant scaled fish with a pair of eyes staring right at them, and its mouth wide open, ready to eat them.
Turn the ship, hurry, or we'll be eaten.
Nami screamed out.
What the?
Usopp said.
It's a huge goldfish, huh? A giant goldfish? I think I've heard of this somewhere.
Quack, quack, Karu screamed out as his eyes bulged out.
Usopp, turn the wheel! I can't. We're gonna sail straight ahead. Right, Luffy?
Right, dude. Of course.
Don't be insane. This isn't like La Mode.
I know, dude. Don't panic. Here, have the last rice cracker.
No, thank you. Forget that and turn the ship on wheel.
Nami. Solo said, leaning his back on the porthole with his arms crossed, all chill. Resign yourself.
But
She said as she bit into the cracker, and Kato ran inside. Quack.
Luffy, are you sure we can trust those giants?
Dude, they're righteous.
Are you serious?
The princess screamed out.
Are you really going to sail straight into that monster's mouth? Oh no, it's too late.
Nami screamed out as they entered inside its belly, and it slowly closed up on them to the sound of womp.
Island Eater, you overgrown goldfish.
Dory said.
It's not just that he's huge.
Broggy said.
The monster eats whole islands, and his poop is truly colossal. Truly, they're as big as islands. Ho ho ho! Remember the time we mistook one for a continent and landed on it? Who could forget?
The giants continue talking as the merry-go was swallowed whole by the giant goldfish, the giant koi.
Watching this takes me back to the good old days.
They continued as they winded up their weapons.
The only thing we can't pierce is a snake boat soaked in blood.
Dory said as blood splurted out of his wounds.
Behold, the legendary spear of the giants of Elpath.
Broggy said as as everyone on the merry-go freaked out as while they were sliding down the throat of the giant koi.
Straight ahead! Straight ahead! That's too late. We've already been swallowed up.
Straight ahead, dudes. Straight ahead! Luffy screamed out, and the two swung at the koi, and they took a pose. And the fish just stood there, floating. And that's when they screamed out,
Coco sovereignty!
They both screamed together, and a giant hole exploded through the koi and pushed the merry-go right out of its guts, sending him flying into the air.
Yahoo!
Usopp screamed, "We're flying out, dudes!"
Don't turn! Go straight ahead!
It's huge, so huge, dudes!
They blasted a hole right through it!
Usopp cried to the elated joy of Luffy.
That's the power of the warriors of Elpath!
And they landed right onto the ocean and continued to sail forward at full speed. Wow, dude, we're fast. And with their broken weapons held up into the air, Dory and Broggy screamed out together,
"May good fortune accompany you!"
And their blades fell down to the floor.
Ha 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 ha! Ho 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 ho!
Long ago, a group of ruffians calling themselves the Pirate Giants terrorized the seas as Broggy and Dory threw their hilts into the ocean, and as it flew into the sky, the two leaders of these pirates, Broggy the Red and Dory the Blue, were warriors of unimaginable strength. And as the hilts slowly landed into the ocean, a flashback ensued, where no more ordinary mortal could cross blades with them and live, and so they were left to do as they pleased as their gigantic ships landed onto the island. But one day, a little girl changed all that as the giants celebrated.
Did you see that? See what the chiefs caught today?
Dory, a very young Dory said to a very young Broggy.
I could hardly believe my eyes.
As the pirates celebrated, drinking large, copious amounts of ale.
They each caught a humongous sea monster. Ho ho ho! That might be the biggest ones ever. Even among the giants of Elbath, the only ones who can catch such fearsome prey
Dory said,
are our chiefs. Amen? Yay! I think you're right.
as they stood. They all celebrated before a ranch with cows, and there was a little girl.
Oh,
She said.
which one is bigger?
She looked up at them with her shortcut hair. With her shortcut hair and farmer outfit.
Which one?
They asked, and then they looked over at the giant. Oh my gosh, Solo and Sanji got it. Now it makes sense. They looked at their catches as big as the mountain range.
Look, Froggy, I think mine's a little bigger.
Said Dory.
Don't kid yourself.
Broggy said.
Mine's almost 2 inches bigger. What? Chiefs, please stop.
And it was years later, as the flashback ended, those fairy monsters that they've caught had become bones and part of the landscape, with overgrowth and a statue of as a testament to who they were 100 years ago.
By the way, Froggy,
Dory said.
there's something I can't remember. Same here.
Dory said.
Oh,
And the volcano exploded.
there's the signal.
But that was a long time ago.
Oh, never mind. Let's just settle this. Yike, we'll work it out later.
And they began clashing once again, continuing their 100-year battle. Curious. Meanwhile, on the merry-go, it sailed peacefully over the Grand Line in the ocean, with the birds floating in the giant sea monsters just passing along, not even bothering to ask for 350. You guys, Luffy said. Someday, I swear.
I'm going to Elbath, to the village of warriors.
Oh, okay. That was Usopp. Usopp spoke.
You guys, someday I swear I'm going to Elbath, to the village of warriors.
Alright, Usopp, dude, let's do it. Let's go to the land of the giants. The two celebrated with their fists raised up into the air.
Elbath, everyone is huge because they're giants.
Usopp said.
Ah, they're short in good mood.
Nami said as she slumped down and clutched onto her head.
I'm still exhausted from that adventure. Vivi, can you keep an eye on the log post?
She handed it to the princess, and she looked at it, wondering why. Nami smiled.
Now finally you could go home. If we don't run into trouble, between here and Alabasta, that is.
She continued smiling, and the princess smiled in return.
Yes, I've got to go home and save my kingdom.
And she remembered what Igarapoi said to her. You're the only one, princess. Your father, the king, is powerless now. Back in the castle, as the violence continued on outside the castle walls. The people must hear the truth from your lips, or this violence will not end. You must live. Whatever sacrifices must be made. Even if you must betray others, you must live no matter what. Princess Vivi, do you have the resolve to stay alive? To which Vivi responded in the present day.
I will live and return to Alabaster.
No need to worry, Vivi, Sanji said with a big smile on his face. You have me! Petite four, they're my treat of the day! He presented the women with a plate of food of Thurs. And there's a choice of coffee or tea!
Sanji!
Suddenly, Usopp and Luffy stood before them with their tongues lapped out and drool pouring out like a waterfall. Yum, dude, yum. To which Sanji replied, "Yours in the kitchen!" Yay! Yay! They ran off to the to the galley as everyone watched on, and Karu replied, "Quack." Meanwhile, on the other end of the ship, Zolo swung his sword. 2,603. And he swung one more time as sweat bulged out and his veins popped. And his scar slowly healed even more. 2004. If I'd been able to destroy that candelabra, we wouldn't have been delayed so long. Perhaps I should worry less about doing a JoJo pose and just actually slice into the wax rather than chopping my leg off. He said as his bandaged leg from his little stunt to break free of candelabra gushed out some blood. 2 lakhs. Whew. I have to get strong enough. Whew. And he continued swinging 100 kilogram weights attached to a pole. To shatter steel, I will do so. And he continued swinging one after another. Meanwhile, further out to the ocean, Sandy Island Harbor, the Kingdom of Alabasta. Ooh, we have a new one, Mr. Two. Huh. He's got swans. I wonder what I want to go with this here. Mr. Two. On Sandy Island Arbor, the Kingdom of Alabaster.
Mr. Two, Bontley. The Swanda is ready.
Why not make most of them snobbish? Okay. I'll make them snobbish too. All right. Quiet. Why all the fuss? Can't you kill Mr. Three by yourselves?
No way. Even if we attacked all at once, he'd slaughter us. Please help us. It's the boss's orders.
The crew said, in fear of Mr. Zero. Weaklings, Mr. Two said as he planted his hand on his hips with a pair of swans attached to his cloak and the kanji on his back reading Okama
Game Spear.
Let's see. This won't take long. Let's see what that says. Let's see. There we go. Michi. Okama Michi. There we go. The road. Okama Road. Okama Road. With the as his trench coat had the words Okama Michi written on the back. Weaklings, what a pan. Meanwhile, back on the merry-go, Nami spoke.
Oh, Vivi, I'm sorry. I need some rest. Okay, Nami, I'll watch the shift for you. Go get some sleep.
And she noticed something happen as Nami collapsed onto the deck.
Oh, everyone, come quickly. This is bad.
She screamed out as her yell caught Zolo's attention, and Luffy, munching into his snacks, approached. What's wrong, Phoebe dude?
It's Nami,
she said as Nami lay huffing and puffing, covered in cold sweat, and her eyes grimacing from pain.
She's burning up with fever.
To be continued. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda, Chapter 130, Maximum Speed. Sanji stood over Nami with tears in his eyes and snot pouring out of his nose, gripping his teeth into a rag. Is Nami gonna die? Is she Vivi?
It's probably the climate,
the princess said.
One of the dangers you encounter upon entering the Grand Line is sickness caused by extreme weather.
Luffy and Usopp stood side by side with arms crossed as Sanji continued to tug into the cloth, and Karo scratching underneath his wings as they watched over Nami covered in multiple layers of blankets.
Even the most notorious pirates who sail the seas,
The princess said,
can suddenly get sick and die. It's a common occurrence.
and there Nami laid in the bed with a cold wet rag on her forehead.
Even a little cold can kill you if you're not careful. Isn't there anyone who knows a little medicine?
And Usopp and Luffy immediately pointed at at Nami to the shock of Karo and the princess, while Sanji continued to sob with his eyes in his arm. Luffy smiled and looked over at Sanji. She just needs to eat some meat. That'll cure her, right, dude?
Well, I'll cook something up that she can eat. That's basic care you'd give any sick person, but it won't necessarily make her well.
He continued.
Up to now, I've taken extra care in preparation of Nami and Vivi's meals. I made sure they were well balanced and had meat and vegetables. If something was going bad, I'd feed it to you guys. Hi!
Usopp said in anger. Haha, it tasted all pretty good though, dude. Yeah.
Anyway,
Sanji said.
as long as some of the ship's cooked, you don't have to worry about basic nutrition. However, there are all sorts of special foods that are good for different diseases.
He pointed out as as Nami let out another puff of pain.
But I don't know what she's got.
Then feed her all of them, dude. Luffy said.
That's a good way to make a healthy person sick. 104 degrees.
The princess said. She took the thermometer out and stared out and looked at the result.
Her fever's getting worse. There's sure to be a doctor in Alabasta, right?
Usopp said.
How much further is it, Vivi? I'm not sure,
She replied.
but it'll take us at least a week.
Does it hurt to be sick, dude? To which Usopp and Sanji tilted their heads and said together,
Oh no, never been sick, never been sick. Are you people even human?
Beaver screamed out.
Of course it hurts. A fever of 104 is catastrophic. It could kill her.
To which the men screamed out, Wow! Whoa! Whoa! Nami's gonna die, dude. Luffy jumped up and down. Sanji clasped his hands together and cried, Nami, please don't die. And Usopp and Kuro run back and forth, freaking out. Oh, quack.
Quit running around and be quiet.
The princess screamed out with a vein bulging out of her forehead. We gotta find a doctor, dude, and have him cure her.
All right, I know.
The princess raised her hand up to calm everyone down.
Just calm down. The noise isn't good for her. It's no good.
Nami said, and she lifted her head up.
Oh, Nami.
Yeah, she's better, dude.
Don't be stupid.
Usopp slapped the captain upside the head.
In my desk, there's a newspaper.
She said as she sat up. Nami said she sat up and covered in completely in sweat. Though moments later, with the water splashing, and the seagulls flapping across the sea, Solo continued on pumping iron as he enjoyed the quiet. He looked up and continued on lifting his weights. Smooth sailing ahead. Good. The princess inside the galley was shocked.
It can't be.
What's wrong, dude?
Is it about Alabasta, Vivi? This is terrible.
She read the paper as she imagined as she envisioned her soldiers rising up with weapons and a flaming flag.
300,000 soldiers have defected from the Royal Army and joined the rebels? The Royal Army used to have 600,000 men, and the Rebel Army had 400,000. This changes everything. Now the violence in Alabasta will intensify,
The princess said.
That newspaper was from 3 days ago.
She struggled to stay up.
I'm sorry. Letting you see that wouldn't make the ship go faster, and I didn't want you to worry, so I hid it from you. Do you understand, Luffy?
She said, I get the feel it's pretty bad.
It is. I'm glad to see you actually taking this seriously. You need to see a doctor, Nami.
Usopp said.
I'm fine. That thermometer must be broken.
She was about to, she slid out of the bed and stood up.
Is it possible to have a temperature of 104? It was probably just sunstroke. I don't need to see a doctor.
She started walking away despite the sweat and the fever gripping her.
We'd have to stick to the plan and head straight for Alabasta. Thanks for worrying about me.
She looked back with a light smile. Hey, dude, is she really better?
She's always has to be strong, doesn't she?
Usopp put his hands on his hips in frustration. Meanwhile, the princess collapsed down to her knees, staring at the newspaper, and thought,
if I don't do something, the kingdom will be engulfed in a bloody war. I have to prevent that at all costs, or it will mean the end of Alabasta. Crocodile will take over.
She buried her face into the newspapers, nearly weeping.
I don't have to get home alive, but as soon as possible. I've got to get home, or many of my people will kill each other in a senseless war.
Dude, 1 million people?
Vivi, you have a heavy weight on your shoulders.
Outside. Outside, Nami approached Zolo.
What are you looking at?
What? The ship's going straight ahead.
Straight ahead according to what? You have to look at the log poles.
I don't need to. I just follow that big cloud over there.
Don't you know that clouds move and change shape?
And she walked past him and immediately clasped onto her forehead.
I can't take this. My head hurts.
Well, just leave it to me and get some sleep, he said as he continued pumping iron.
I'd would if I could, but that would be suicide. Oh.
She got dizzy.
Yeah, it's different.
The air. She noticed it as she felt the breeze. It's been nice and sunny all day.
Never mind, just call the others,
she said. And on the deck, everyone ran out of the galley. Hey, you guys, come out here. Time to work. We're going to make a turn to the south. I don't take orders from you. Shut up and get to work. Hoist the sails and catch the wind to port. Right, Usopp said, running off. What's going on, Nami? The sea's calm and the sky's clear.
It's the wind,
she said as she struggled to maintain her balance.
There's a big wind coming up ahead, I think.
And Luffy stood right before her and planted his head on her forehead.
Huh?
Ouch, dude, you're hot. We have to get you to a doctor. He held his hand covered in heat.
That's not necessary. This is my normal temperature, so stop acting stupid and pull a rope. Nami! I know you want to help Vivi, but if you overexert yourself, I said I'm fine. Hey, Nami, you better just hurry up and turn the ship,
she said, slapping on the banister. And she immediately lowered her head.
Oh, well, that's not. It doesn't sound like the wind.
She said, she thought to herself. She looked out into the ocean and the horizon as the clouds moved along. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, Vivi sat staring at the newspaper, thinking to herself,
I have to get back to the Alabasta as soon as possible.
She crushed the newspaper in frustration. And she got up onto her feet and exited out out of her room.
Everyone, I need to ask a favor of you.
She stood before the entire crew.
I know this is selfish of me, after all you've done already, but my country is in great peril, and I've got to get back right away. There's not a moment to spare, so...
And everyone listened on, giving her attention.
So I want you to sail to this ship at maximum speed and head straight for Alabasta.
She remembered Nami smiling.
Of course, we promised you we would. So let's look for an island with a doctor as soon as possible,
she said, catching Nami's attention.
If we want to get to Alabasta, we need to get Nami well so we can get there faster.
Ooh, that was a good rhyme. And Luffy smiled. Hehe, absolutely, dude. This ship can't go any faster than that.
Are you sure about this? What about those million people of yours?
Usopp asked.
I'm sure. That's why we need to make Nami well, quickly. Well said, Vivi! I like you!
He smiled, and Solo held up his sword. You've got a big heart.
Thank you for your concern. But Nami, don't push yourself so hard.
She said as the navigator lurched over the banister, struggling to stand up.
Sorry, Vivi. I think I'm not completely well yet.
Aw, what the heck is that, dude? Luffy screamed out, pointing out into the ocean. And it was a giant tornado. As big as God knows what. And making the merry-go look like an ant before it.
It's a cyclone!
Vivi said. Nami, hang on.
Oh, it's enormous.
With Vivi holding on to Nami.
Wait a minute. That direction.
That's the direction we were sailing in before we turned. Dude, if we continue on that course, we'd have sailed straight into it.
Whoa, close call. We barely missed it. Oh, amazing.
Vivi thought to herself.
They say the cyclones on a Grand Line happen without warning, and yet this girl doesn't just use the wind in the sky to predict the weather. It's as though she feels it in her bones.
She held on. Vivi was very shocked and realized as she held Nami up.
I've never seen a seafarer like her.
All right, let's hurry! The crew screamed out as they threw their fists up into the air.
We're going to head south. We gotta find a doctor.
Aye, aye. Solo screamed out with everyone cheering on. And as they sailed along the Grand Line, snow ensued. And ignoring the eternal poles that pointed the way to Alabaster, they sailed the merry-go in search of a doctor. And the very next day,
Baby, what do we do? Nami's fever isn't going down. Sanji, Karu, be quiet.
Hey, Zolo said. See any doctors, dude?
You expect us to find a doctor out here in this blizzard?
Hey, guys, Zolo screamed out again from the mast. Take a look. Is that somebody standing out there? To be continued. One Piece by Eiichiro Oda. Well, that was a great conclusion to the arc, to the Little Garden arc. It was really nice, and then that nice little short time transition between this arc and what is now, I guess, Nami's sickness arc. Really like the perils. I really like the perils that's going on here. But in terms of the fight itself, to close it out, you know, it didn't take long, surprisingly enough. I'm very shocked how it just concluded. You know, I mean, Candelabras in flames, Mr. 3 just runs away, and our imprisoned heroes, the wax get melted off their bodies, and they're freed, leaving them charred and everything, which isn't too bad, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what much I can say. I mean, the world did expand in these 5 chapters. But in terms of finishing it off, you know, Nami and Vivi got the finishing blows on Miss Valentine, and thus saving Usopp from having his nuts crushed into pieces, and and of course Mr. 5 gets outsmarted by Usopp. He gets outsmarted, and let me tell you something, man. I really like Usopp. I really like Usopp. This is cowardice done right. This is the cowardly character done right. You know, saying he was very smart. He adapted. He shoots out and tricks Mr. 5 into thinking that was an exploding star, but it turned out to be pepper sauce. It turned out to be a pepper sauce and just messed him up good, very, very good. So yeah, big ups on Usopp there. Very well done. Very well done. And of course, Zolo gets in the finishing blow with a very cool cool set of panels here where he was in fire. We see him where it says flaming Oni. The flame is going on. He's like covered in flames, and then just epically with three swords, with his three swords technique, just went in and finished off Mr. Five, and still stayed in flames. It's pretty awesome. That's pretty epic. That's a nice depiction, and I like how the flames how Oda-san and his team kept the blade still visible within the flames, and kept the as well as Solo at the final panel there. It really makes Solo look badass. Total hardcore stuff. But yes, it was an easy dispatch, quite honestly. It was pretty easy dispatch because Luffy just finishes off Mr. 3 very easily and just kicks him in the face. Just like that. Instinct. I'm very curious though, and I because I don't know what this Gear 5 is that that everybody is hyped up about. Like, you know, all I saw was like, yeah, Gear 5, Gear 5. Is this the first instance of this Gear 5 thing that that everyone is talking about? You know, because he didn't just guess. It's like he knew, and he just stomped Mr. 3 right there in the face with his chancla, his gum stamp, and he just said instinct, just like that. And I'm very, very curious if this is like the first nugget, the first hint. There you go. The first hint of this Gear 5 thing that I've heard about. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it is. All I know is that people are like, yeah, Luffy did Gear 5. That's all I saw in the comments, but I never looked at like the images, the pictures, or anything. So I have no idea what it looks like. I have no idea how it works, but it's a big deal for some reason, and I'm curious if this is where it started, because that would be interesting. This is very interesting. If this is like this is the very, very start of this Gear 5 that Luffy's gonna have in the end. I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments below. Just don't spoil. Please don't spoil. Don't spoil. But you know, just give me just give me that yes or no thing. You know, say the nod. Just like nod, nod if I'm in the right direction, because then I want to keep an eye out throughout the story for things like this. You know what I'm saying, when he's using his instinct. So that way I could get a saying like when he whenever he says instinct or uses his instinct, I want to make sure that saying that I have awareness that this is leading up to it. And I want to see how it progresses, like how the power creeps up and everything. It's a great opportunity for me to learn how to do power creeping, build up a character's power, from low level all the way up to high level, how to develop it a little better. It'll help out with my writings. And of course, we end the chapter 126 with the Snailophone, the first appearance of the Snailophone. Since I've already saw the live action, I'm aware of the Snailophone, but this is but here we get to see the Snailophone in action, and didn't realize I could have given it a voice, which I did, and we get introduced to Mr. Zero, which is pretty cool. We get a first look at Mr. Zero with his conversation with Sanji, an idiot all the way through, quite honestly. We find out that Dory survived because weapons were so blunted and dulled after 100 years and never got sharpened. So it didn't have the death impact. As usual, it's one of those little peeves that I have when it comes to shonen, where they depict death and then they pull out the eternal dragon and wish that character back to life. Fairy Tail is notorious for this, and haven't seen the recent episode of My Hero Academia. It can be very irritating. It's like, if you're gonna commit to death, commit to the death of a character. And the fact that even though he's a side character, he's a minor character, he lives, I still don't like it. Commit to the death. Commit to the death. If you're gonna kill a character, kill him, kill her, kill it, whatever. Just commit to it. These death fake outs in shonen is very cheap, very lazy, and it doesn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? It just cheapens death when it really happens. You know, Igaropoi dying, was really a big deal for Vivi. Here, this would have been a big deal for Broggy, but no, it's like slap. I'm alive, and it's like, saying I know that the rationalization was the weapons because they were dulled and blunt out, but honestly, honestly, I hate death and shonen get cheaped out like that. Um, Especially when it's fairy tale. That's why I'm having a hard time watching fairy tale because I know that that doesn't matter in that show anymore. I don't know. I'll probably eventually get to watching it because I really like fairy tale. I really enjoyed watching it, but stop, cheap and death, you cheap and death. But even so, Dory's just happy that he got his friend back, which is fine. You know what I'm saying? It's fine. They're ready to fight each other. But the key main thing about the Snailophone chapter is Sanji talking to Mr. Zero, Crocodile himself, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. I know you. I understand. I understand. You want stupidity, sometimes silliness, and a little stupidity. But there's a time and place for that, and this was really not the time, writing wise, to have a character be stupid, because Sanji pulled off the perfect move here by saying everyone who knew your secret has been eliminated, and mind you, he's not questioning Mr. Three's voice here. Like he's saying, this is not Mr. Three. Who is this? I guess the voices are being masked by the Snailophones. If that's the case, that should have been emphasized. But really, I don't like the fact that that Sanji was given the idiot ball here, because that was a good move he did by saying that they've been eliminated and that was it. And now he's getting all this information, all these orders. Saying he's gifted all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he gets into a fight with Miss Friday and Mr. 13, and suddenly. Suddenly, after he successfully beats them, which was great, he goes into he ends up carrying the idiot ball and saying that they were still alive, and he finished them. And this was overcompensated by having Mr. Zero also carrying well, we don't know if he's carrying the idiot ball or if he just figured that was all a lie because of that slip up by Sanji. But I don't know. I just feel like this was clumsily handled writing wise. You know what I'm saying? Like Sanji could have, he could have. I don't know. It feels like he carried the idiot ball on this one here, and I can't tell if Mr. Zero also carried the idiot ball. But I feel like that was clumsy because it was cool and epic that he won, but. For Sanji to suddenly say that the Straw Hats were still alive and he finished them off, and then all of a sudden we got this whole wonky dialogue between the two, because it's like, what happened here? What happened with all of this? Of course, he found the eternal log, the eternal pose, which is good, and of course Miss All Sunday, the real Miss All Sunday, because I keep getting her mixed up. I keep getting her mixed up with Miss Valentine. She's gonna join the fray now. She's gonna join the fray. We got a nice little interlog, interlog here with Tashigi and Smoker. They're on the prowl now. They're on the hunt. They captured Mr. 11, which I don't think we're gonna ever see again after this one, because he got captured. He got captured. And they're, of course, heading to Alabaster. So, good piece of information that we're getting out of it. And we get the transition of the arc now from the Little Garden arc to the next one, where everybody's all relaxed and talking with the giants, and Sanji finally catches up. He provides all the information, which is good. You know what I'm saying? So it was a nice easy moving episode nice easy moving chapter. And what Sanji and Solo said about doing their hunting challenge got the two remembering something. Of course, which is cool because it's 100 years and you can't remember everything from 100 years. But everybody wished them goodbye, and the two of them decided to do a send off, and that's of course where we were introduced to a very big giant koi, a Japanese goldfish, in chapter 129. There wasn't really much to show. Hold on a second here. Here we go. This really, really giant fish here, which was a pretty cool drawing actually. I'll just point that out here. How well that was done, showing the ocean being lifted up like a hill, and you just see a pair of eyes and fins. And of course, once again, scaling, very excellent use of scaling by Oda, showing not just only how big the giants are, but how big this giant goldfish is in relation to not just the merry-go, but the fact that those little dots there is supposed to be Luffy and the crew. So good job again. This arc was great in displaying how to use scaling, size scaling in relation to each other, and Oda did a great job. Since this is the we're coming to the closing of the arc here, I just want to say that this was pretty excellent. Very well executed arc. The fighting was well done. Great use of the environments. Great use of everything. Great use of this giant fish as we go into the coda. This is basically the coda chapter at this point here, where we get the final farewell and one of the most epic things ever. And we get ourselves a little flashback when Broggy and Dory were very young. They deliver the most awesome attack imaginable, which turned out to be their final attack, I guess. With their weapons in use, just put a gaping hole and push the merry-go out. Again, the scaling. You can see the merry-go right down the top left under the H, shooting out of the guts there. Like, amazing use of scaling. I look to see more of that. You know what I'm saying, with the size scaling from Oda-san and his team. But ultimately, they serenaded them. Their weapons finally broke for good, and they threw it into the air. We get a nice little flashback where we come across this little kid here with a farm that doesn't exist anymore. And what was cool is that we get to see these two giant creatures that they caught doing a challenge, just like Sanji and Solo. Nice little juxtaposition between the two. Between these two characters and Sanji and Zolo, and turns out that's what the skeletons are. Of course, the little girl long gone. We're talking 100 years ago. Very curious, very interesting, I guess. I guess. And of course, the volcano explodes. They couldn't remember it because it's 100 years ago, and resulted in them going back to their status quo. Fighting, and thus ends the whole Little Garden arc. So overall, the Little Garden arc was great. The fights were great, very ingenious. A few little slips ups there, like Zolo should have escaped and should have been able to escape. You know what I'm saying, or at the very least have lost his sword, so he would not have escaped. That whole dialogue exchange between Sanji and Mr. Zero was a little wonky, but it still worked out. Bringing Dory back to life, such a shonen move, not very good. But the fighting was great. Usopp got to shine and really got to show off ranged combat with another ranged fighter. And most importantly, showing that more or less that Usopp is more of a ranged fighter than a close range than a melee fighter. So if he gets caught into the field, get caught in like a melee battle, he will run. He will display cowardice, and it feels justified because he's not a melee fighter. He's a ranged fighter, and you don't want your ranged fighter in the front line where the melee is happening. You want him to get away. You want him to get away. So I feel like the cowardice on that front, if that's why his cowardice is displayed because he doesn't want to get a mix in with a melee fight. That's justified cowardice. You as a ranged fighter, you want to get out of range. You know what I'm saying? Get out of the melee zone, get into a range, and then he turns around and starts flicking the slingshots, and he has shown that very easily. But he's also shown to take initiative, which is great too in this arc. He joined he joined the charge with Luffy and Kado out of the jungle, and then they comically stumbled and hit the whole thing. But he was able to get his composure and was able to take on Mr. 5. He even took on Mr. 3. He sent a bullet his way, but Mr. 5 intercepted and ate the dang thing. Until, of course, he found his nuts getting crushed by 1,000 kiloton Miss Valentine. But he still had the smartest move when he realized that the rope was soaked in oil and acted as a wick and got Koro to get the thing lit on fire, which was pretty good. He was able to get Luffy to go, and it was Luffy who lit because he took the three Mr. 3's three-shaped hair that was on fire and lit the whole thing up to free the crew. So yeah, Usopp really shined big time. He's the MVP of this whole thing, of this whole arc, and that's great. That's great because it shows justified cowardice because he's not a melee fighter. But when he gets into his area of combat, he shows great bravery. And he really does want to be brave. He really shows the determination and faces his fears and so on. So yeah, he's turning into a very well developed character. You know, he knows when to use fear as his ally rather than as his enemy, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So that was the little garden arc, and we end up with everyone in the merry-go, floating out in the sea, making their way to Alabaster, and this is where we now start transitioning into the next arc because Mr. 2 is next. Swan song over here. We get introduced to the Swan song here. Looks like the card doubling seasons in Magic the Gathering with those two swans. But his orders to kill off Mr. 3. But something tells me they're gonna cross paths with the crew. And over on Sandy Island Harbor in the Kingdom of Alabasta, that's where it's all coming together. It's all coming together for the next arc. But right now they got a major issue, and that is Nami getting sick somehow. She's getting sick, and that's bad because now they gotta find a doctor, and they can't go to Alabaster without her healthy. But most importantly, they need her alive. They need her alive to get them to Alabaster, and yeah, they got a major issue. They got a major issue because the Princess Vivi asked one simple question: does anybody know medicine? And Nami's the only one who could do it. They need a doctor. They need a ship's doctor quick. They need their Dr. Bones because all Sanji can do is give her a nutritional meal to ensure that that she could at least go through recovery. But they need actual medicine, and this was actually a great chance to see everybody handling a situation like this. Saying that it's not all fist punching kind of thing. You gotta fight things like diseases, and good on Oda for showing that one. For putting that on display in the writing, because there is more to this whole adventure to this whole shonen adventure than just punching and everything. They're dealing with the weather, which we get to see here. We get disease, which is what's happening to Nami. fevers and other types of situations, um, which is uh, which is interesting because Nami ended up showing her seafaring skills here despite being sick and walking around with a 104-degree temperature. And that is that she realized the air went stale. It just went dead. And something big was happening, and she was able to get everybody to, turn the ship around, get some maneuvering done, and so on. Was able to get the Zolo to call out. And it turned out her instincts were right, because it ended up being a big, gigantic typhoon. Or a cyclone. It's really a tornado. But it's big, and again, now that we got to see the Little Garden arc, we've seen the payoff with Oda's ability to scale size, and he throws in this big giant tornado, and we see that everybody's all eclipsed and everything. And of course, they got lucky and missed it because thanks to Nami, she was able to she pushed herself hard enough to get everybody to change directions and set the sail properly. And now, as we move into the next arc, and they're dealing with the Grand Line's random changing of the seasons, they're looking for a doctor. They're prioritizing that because without her, they can't read the Eternal Pose. Sadly enough, and we ended with Solo finding somebody standing out there. What it is, we don't know, but we'll soon find out. We'll soon find out next time. So, comment, like, subscribe, follow. You want to. And head on over to Amazon.com and grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man Strange Fantasy novel written by me. You'll find a copy of the book in the links down in the description below, along with links to other merch such as pins, stickers, t-shirts, music. Please enjoy the products. Thank you for your patronage. And if you're interested, you can head on over to my live multi-stream on Twitch and Kick. If you're interested, you can hang out with me every Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you get to see these moments like these in live and in charge. Large and live and large. I don't know. I can't get a phrase off. Anyway, until the next set of chapters, thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.